Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today to review Foundation software focusing on year-end solutions. So we'll go through a number of features within Foundation, how we can help with year-end processes, both directly from Foundation software and a couple of our sister products, mainly our payroll service, Payroll for Construction. We're going to talk a little bit of both on those. Obviously, some people that are on the webinar may have Foundation or Payroll for Construction. I think anybody will be able to get a few things out of this, and obviously people that are not customers of any of our products, hopefully this will be a nice intro to what we offer overall and specifically how we can help with year end. I'm not going to spend much time on the initial intro here, right? But I do want to cover just a few basic things of who we are, what we do. So might be a little re-review for some of the people that have been with us for a while as clients. But so here's me. I won't get into a whole bunch here. I've been working here a long time, did a lot of support training. So hopefully I have some good experience with this. As we walk through the webinar today, please feel free to ask questions in the control panel. I'll do my best to respond, and obviously if it's something I don't get to right during this, I will reach back out to people after, of course. So here's a quick rundown on who we are, right? So Foundation, we're a construction accounting solution, right? We've been doing this for just about 40 years. Roughly, we'll say 7,000 Foundation clients. We have a few other companies that we own, which I'll mention here in another slide, but purely on Foundation, yeah, right around 7,000. On our payroll service, Payroll for Construction, which we'll talk about, I had roughly about 2,500. I think that's somewhat still accurate. It's probably a little more than that. Yes, we have a lot of specialty contractors and a healthy mix of general contractors too. Our payroll is really strong, so I always feel like that pulls a little bit more on the labor intensive side. One thing I really like to point out to companies that are familiar with us is we have in-house support and training, which is very unique in our space in the market. So probably about 50 support people here at Foundation. So our clients need help, we jump on their screen and it's us, right? It's homegrown, it's in our office, it's not outsourced to a third party. And I think that's always one of the nicest features that our clients will speak to about our company. Obviously the product has to work, right? But the support being helpful. So here's a nutshell of what we do. Job cost accounting, that's our baby. We're going to touch on that real quick and then specifically talk about year-end features, of course. Construction payroll service, so that's Payroll for Construction. We've got thousands of companies that own Foundation for their accounting and job costing that add Payroll for Construction to the full solution. So it's all in one, where Foundation takes over and pays their taxes, employees, quarter returns, W-2s. We've got thousands of companies that maybe they're not ready for Foundation. Maybe they're a smaller construction company, maybe under $1 million or something like that, but they would love our payroll features like certified payroll, union payroll, so they can use our payroll service on its own or package it together with their full accounting solution. Project management features, we offer mobile products for field entry. Estimating, we have 2 estimating products that we own, and safety management product. We recently rolled out an HR solution too under the HQ environment, which I have noted here. So these are our logos under the Foundation family. Again, we have a couple estimating options, McCormick and Edge, project management, safety and HR, our payroll service, and our mobile application called WorkMax. We're gonna hop to it, and I'm just gonna jump in Foundation for a quick rundown on the main menu, and we're gonna take a look at some initial basic reports to give an overall feel of some things that we do, and then obviously talk about the year-end specific focus. So these are our core modules within our system, right? Because we have some supplemental products like our mobile app, right? But that's not on the main menu. But the very top, that's our core base package. Everybody gets that, so at a minimum, obviously we're helping with all of this: construction payroll, financials, job costing, progress billings like AIAs, AP, purchase order and subcontract management. In a sense, right, it's replacing like a QuickBooks or an older maybe package that's not supported any longer, something like that. This middle group, those are the optional modules, along with these other supplemental products, of course, like again, our mobile app. So we have clients that have heavy equipment, clients that potentially have inventory, service, maybe they have a service division, scheduling features. So again, these are per se optional. And then at the very bottom, we have, this is part of the base package, right? Security, you can get very granular on our security, who can see and do what. You know, maybe somebody can access payroll, but not see executives, as an example. Maybe certain users only see particular jobs. Genies, this does more than what I'm going to mention right now, but I primarily want to point out we do have a drop and drag report writer. It's probably the best way to say it, drop and drag, because it is. And that's primarily for customizing job cost reports, custom financials, which we'll take a look at in relation to year end, custom forms. So we have lots of reports, right, already in the program, preloaded financials, audit level GL reports, many preloaded job cost reports. But I always stress to people, you're not stuck with what is preloaded. We can, you know, expand on that without having any type of like formal, you know, custom report writing knowledge. This dashboard tool is an additional reporting item that is part of the base package. And I'm actually going to jump in there. And while not specific necessarily to year end, obviously I want to expand a little bit and show people like, hey, this is a big picture view of what our clients have access to, even in just the classics, right? Their job cost reporting, you know, financials. You'll notice there's tabs at the top that I'm hovering over. There's change order management. So again, if somebody's not allowed to see financial data, they just won't. So for me, like, these are my active jobs. So at a glance, I can see where we're at with our, you know, billings compared to the contract amount, estimated actual cost. You know, the idea is just, you can easily drill down, right? Click into a column, jump into one job. I tend to just do kind of a general drill down. Now, as we go through the program a bit, blue means you can click on it. Items are alphanumeric, right? Jobs, vendors, customers, etc. So while there's a lot of detailed reports that you can jump into anytime you want, you know, if I was somebody, just kind of give an overall feel of our jobs, you know, where are we at with our percent complete, our profit, I can't just kind of click on one and drill down, right? So I can see a quick snapshot of that specific project, you know, where we're at with our, again, profit, contract breakdown. We've got our change order split out separately. Revised, we use that term so people understand that that total contract amount is including approved change orders. We have other screens that show change orders with pending, rejected, approved. So we can track those with different statuses. But again, once approved, that's going to, you know, move the needle, so to speak, on these total contract and estimated cost values. We do a really good job managing commitments, purchase orders, and subcontracts. You know, anything even from the basic sense of creating a PO from foundation or contract, you know, linking it to an AP invoice to make sure we're not overbilled, you know, notifications if something expires for like workers' comp or insurance certificates, right? So at the end of the day, you know, as I drill down, right, if I go into this $200,000 in cost, you know, this is just, you know, one example of a classic variance report for, you know, in foundation of many other reports, right? So some are extremely detailed, some are summarized, some are, you know, in between. Some of our clients use phases or cost codes or both. We have terminology there's different for phases and cost codes in our program. Some people use that term, kind of flip-flop on it, but yeah, so you can see any of these tasks that we're performing, right? These cost codes, and we can see the breakdown of that 19,000, for example, by how much of that was labor and material, potentially subs, equipment, burden, or any other, you know, cost category that we're looking to track. So some people just use these main cost buckets if they're not using cost codes, right? So they can at least just see big picture total estimated in actual labor and material, et cetera, not necessarily by cost code. So just pointing out some of the basics. So there's a lot of flexibility on getting the data back out, but job costing is one of the first and main things people are getting from our program, right? And obviously one of the key features that they need. There's change order management. I'm not going to get into these in detail. There's financial summaries. There's WIP reports, which are very classic, you know, report that a lot of contractors need. And again, We have that report writer. If something's different, then we want to change columns, make something different. That's totally okay. Cash management, I skipped over. There's payables, receivables, even just tracking retainage, right, is a simple thing, hopefully in any construction platform. So I know that was just a real quick overview of, hey, these are just high level ideas of what we're offering, and there's a lot more with, you know, progress billings and lien waivers and other features, and especially all these other add-on modules. But let's do what we're supposed to do in target financials and year end, and, you know, payroll options that help with the year end process as well. So GL wise, we do have preloaded financials, right? These are our preloaded reports. As I mentioned, we've got balance sheets, you know, income statements, obviously. So even with the preloaded reports, like our preloaded balance sheets and income statements, they're still flexible for some soft customization. Things like, and more so on the income statement, I'd say, but, you know, show account numbers, show you know, accounts with zero balance, right? So these, you can do, again, your own custom layouts, which I'm going to jump into the report writer in a minute. So those are preloaded. As you know, we set up our chart of accounts. You just tag each account with, if it's a debit or credit, and what category it's connected to, like if it's an income statement account or a balance sheet statement account, and like what area on the financials, like is it a direct expense, right? Is it not? So with our preloaded income statements, and I use plural because there's different preloaded options. Standard, do I want to run this by job? Do I want to run it with prior years? Do I want to show cents, account numbers? So again, even these preloaded options, there is some soft customization to these, of course, depending on what we're trying to do. You can enter budgets in Foundation. It's just like a standard journal entry, but it's a budget journal, right? Which goes to a budget kind of table in history. So it's not a real, you know, number for actual, you know, true cost or values in our financials, but obviously a budget. So we can do that. Those can be done monthly, annually, both. But again, if we've had budgets loaded, right, we'll see obviously a variance on those. Yeah, so again, pretty good flexibility. Divisions, a lot of our clients have profit centers. Okay, so, you know, where they might have a column for, you know, their commercial division, a column for service, or maybe by location if they have multiple locations. We do consolidated financial reporting. A lot of our clients have multiple federal IDs, right? If they're using Foundation for a number of their companies, and we can do consolidated financials between those multiple companies as well. Now, while that's all great, I want to quickly give a view of our report writer. So if I was going to make, well, let's open an existing, say, income statement or profit and loss report, and I'm just going to show some basics of like, this is how we can help customize these. Now, clients can do this on their own. We're happy to help them, you know, when they need help. And this is just an initial template. I've got my income with my income accounts, which, you know, whether you have 2 or, you know, 15 different income accounts is all relative. Grand total, expenses broken out. So maybe I'm good with that, right? But maybe on this one, I do not want to just have this year and a prior year and a variance. Maybe I want this one, I don't know, monthly, right? So I've got current month, maybe I want the prior month, maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever we're trying to do, right? So you'll notice there's different options: year to date, month, quarter, period, balance, percentage. I can do percentage of sales as an example, obviously calculations for variances, etc. Budgets, right? So I could technically pull over budget month, current month, budget prior month, right? Prior month actual. So I can get pretty flexible, and it's nice because, again, I don't have to start from scratch. I'm kind of just stealing, I guess it doesn't matter what I call, I'll say IS monthly for income statement monthly, just for my own example. And I would make this look prettier, but, you know, you can format columns, decide if you want double lines or, you know, just red for negatives, things like that. So we'll say monthly. Yeah, so now if I go run my financials again, if I go to my Genie section, these are ones I've potentially created, right? So here's my monthly income statement, you know, that I created, which again, I didn't spend time to make it look beautiful. You can have the actual months listed, but just pointing out, it's, you know, I'm not saying it's the easiest thing you'd ever do, but once you've had a little bit of education on that report writer, it's really not all that scary. And that's from experience doing a lot of training years ago. Drill downs, right? I can always drill down on reports to get down to the actual transaction level, literally to the invoice itself. If there's an AP invoice with an image, I could pop it open. So drill downs in both financials and job cost reporting, et cetera, is there, right? Which is hopefully a helpful thing. Now, in general ledger, obviously you can do journal entries for year-end adjustments. There's reoccurring journals in Foundation. We can import journals from Excel for both actual journal entries and budgets, if it's just easier to go that route. Generate year-end close. Now, honestly, it's automated, so it's not the most exciting thing. Now, I'm using an old date because I have data from all over the place, but you'd put in your year, your calendar year. My fiscal year in this case is, I just made it as, January to December. Let's pretend that's 2024. And all I'm doing is saying close from my first income to my last expense account, and we're going to close that to retained earnings. So it's just doing the journal entry for me. Right, so I can see the amount that's going to hit retained earnings, and we post it. So it's done, right? Now, what's nice is it closes it kind of at a fake time between, to say, 12/31 and 1/1. So I can still go run my December financials anytime in the future, right, and see what those numbers were literally at that time. But then on 1/1, it's magically wiped out, right? We're starting from scratch and zero, right, for those income statement accounts. So it's really simple process to do that. Now, there is options. If you've made a mistake or something, you could erase it, redo it if you have the security to do that. We have control dates. So these are for the admin user or users of the system, where I can say, for example, in general ledger, maybe after the year is closed, I can say, hey, let's only allow entry in, January of 2025, right? So I might do something like that where, right, we're only allowing entry into January of if I closed, the 2024, or maybe I want the first quarter open, right? So the idea is it's not a hard close. Like once I close, it's not like a forever per se thing if it doesn't need to be. If I'm an admin user and my CPA says, hey, you need to go do these adjustments, it's like, oh, okay. I can reopen that time period, do an adjustment, lock it back down if I'm an admin user that can do that. So pretty simple, but it's not letting the Wild West happen where people are posting all over the place on accident or on purpose, of course. Let's jump into payroll and talk about a few things there, because that's obviously an area for year-end stuff, right? Now, one really nice part in Foundation is, even just basic things like our miscellaneous deductions, anything that should be starting fresh on the first pay of 1/1, as long as our limits are set to $1 per year, not to date. Obviously, there's reasons people do need $1 to date for some, but $1 per year, that means the first check date of January 2025, it's going to start fresh. It's going to reset those limits back from, start from zero again to hit that amount. So just more of the basics of just spot checking that, and we send out little, newsletters and tips to our clients. Say, hey, that's something to check up on. Our tax tables are going to be updated automatically in Foundation. Federal tax tables, state tax tables, since it's a cloud solution, those are just running when those are necessary. We're going to do those automatic, so you don't have to worry about those. Report wise, there's classic things that just help throughout the year, of course. 401k management, minority compliance reporting, new hire reporting, workers comp obviously is something we do very well. Multi-state payroll, right, is extremely basic. Obviously, you see, not that it's specific to your end, certified payroll, we do a fantastic job with. Union payroll. ACA reporting, that's part of the payroll module. For your 1094, 1095 forms, PTO management. Now, obviously, just for let alone annual tax filings and returns quarterly too, right? We've got 941s, local tax reporting, state tax, state unemployment options within the system. Sorry, my GoToMeeting's covering up my mouse, or my little bar there. There we go. So, right, so even here, like unemployment, we have the options to just, pick the state you need to, export for, but it's already in that file format to upload directly to that agency, right? So those are just going to be, in a sense, automated, because we're creating those directly from the product for that. W-2s, right? W-3s, those are also printed and or electronic. We do offer a few options for employees, right, with our HR side of things for employee self-services. Not that that's necessarily exactly specific to your end. Well, sometimes, right, if they're making changes, their exemptions or something, that can be done from an HR solution that pushes that acceptance to the HR admin within Foundation proper. And they could also see like their pay stubs, electronically and things of that nature. But specific with year end, yeah, you can do W-2s directly from Foundation, W-3s. Obviously, your tax filings from Foundation. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Payroll for Construction is our sister company. It's same ownership, same essentially same support staff. They're in our same building now, so that helps tremendously that we're all one place, right? So for companies that want to outsource their payroll or just think that's obviously worth getting rid of the hassle of it, it's genuinely all in one. It's one spot. So our clients that use us for both, right, when they're doing payroll, they proof their time cards, right? Make sure all that looks wonderful, whether they're manually entering time or if it's getting pushed from our mobile application, or potentially a third-party mobile app, right? But they're going to proof everything. And we've got a roughly 15 or so reports that we call pre-check registers in payroll. And so, whether you have 100 employees or, 2, but you'll see all the employees, their net pay, deductions, and everybody that's doing payroll in-house and or using our payroll service, this is all the same up to this point. Their time's in the system, they're calculating everything, they're looking at it, making sure everything looks good. We've got pre-check registers where we can look at, where we see basically a preview of everywhere that data is going to hit. What's going to hit general ledger? What's going to hit, job costing? So a company can run, payroll admin can run any and all of these before payroll's done. And so for people doing payroll in-house, they're going to finish up on their own. They're going to do their own checks and or direct deposits right from the system. But otherwise, for companies that are on our payroll service, essentially there's a button that gets turned on that says like submit payroll or process payroll. I can't remember what. But then when they press it, they're done, right? So that sends our payroll service, Payroll for Construction, here are the file, we're finishing it. So you're done, your job costing's updated, just the same as if you were doing payroll in-house. Your financials are updated, you can go run certified payroll reports, right? It's all done, and it's all part of the same, umbrella of the ecosystem, but we took over and acted as your ADP or Paychex, again, having that all in one. So that's a nice option for companies. If somebody's not ready for Foundation, right? If they're on QuickBooks and they're just not ready to move to a construction specific package just yet, that can be a very nice alternative as opposed to a generic payroll service, because again, we're focusing on those construction elements, multi-state, multi-rate, certified, union, etc. Now, somewhat coincidental adjustments. So not necessarily even just year end, but well, let's go with year end. I can create adjustments. So if I compute a payroll and I say, you know what, I want to change the federal tax amount or state or add in a one-time deduction, I can do an adjustment on the fly and just recompute the payroll. So it's asking us here, like, who needs to have an adjustment done? What is it? Do I need to add a deduction or add something special? Do I want to change the, a taxable amount or whatnot? So there is ways to just, in a sense, on the fly, change a current payroll, deduction, taxes, etc. But we have just ways in advance, even for like bonus checks, to just establish maybe a code of bonus that'll have maybe fixed, federal taxes, and maybe I'm not holding deductions or miscellaneous deductions, things of that nature. So we can set those up, and we call those payment groups. So part of one of our control areas, right, the admin area, we have payment groups. So my default one, which I never even have to pick, is just my regular payroll, nothing special. That's my default every time. But if I go to do a specific time card for bonus, I can choose my bonus group that's connected to. And so essentially that one, now if you notice down below as I toggle, my bonus one has a fixed 20% federal. I don't know, that's what I just threw in there. Do I want to withhold state or local tax, or do I want a fixed rate for those? So it's just hopefully an easy way that we can kind of help automate some features. Doesn't mean everybody's going to take that option, right? But certain time cards could have and you can have as many of those payment groups as you need if there's certain people that want a different rate. Now I can individually go to each person and like override their fixed federal or whatever we want it to be if it's not going to use the calculated brackets. But there's options on that, even simply on what we call earn codes, and those can be bonus. There's regular time, straight time, overtime, all the classics. But if you have a bonus one, maybe that has different variables with taxes. Should it calculate workers' comp? Do I want FICA? So, just depending on what what we want to have happen and need to have happen on different categories, right? Point is, we're going to do a good job with a few options to help kind of automate those options for bonus runs. It could be a check, right? Like maybe when I use that bonus group, it creates a check versus a direct deposit if that's preferred. So maybe they're getting their normal direct deposit, but a hard check for the bonus as an example. We also do nothing related to year end with this, but layoff checks are very simple within our product for things in that nature. I mentioned earlier, like journal entries, of course, those can be done at any time. Now, throughout the year to make the year end easier, obviously companies run their aging reports, right? Their subsidiary ledgers, and make sure that their open payables and receivables will match their AP and AR account on their trial balance or balance sheet, right? Where they should be. And so we've tried to do a number of things to not let those, the best that we can, prevent it to get out of balance, right? So like my AR, now notice we have separate AR retainage accounts, because that's better because we track retainage. Because if I run an open receivable report, I'm going to have a separate column for retainage. Same with AP. So those, those should be matching to my AR aging, and those should be matching to my AP aging. Now, you can do journal entries on the fly, just saying that out loud because I'm staring at it. I can drill down into any of these numbers if I need to, right, to see where some backup data, is behind those numbers, which is a whole lot. But one thing we do with journal entries, we prevent users from being able to do a journal entry to say our AR account or our AP account. Because theoretically, if I am allowing somebody to go directly in our general ledger and do a journal entry and hit AP or AR, that's not affecting my AR aging and my AP aging, right? So now I'm out of balance. We're trying to do things like that over time. We make changes and adapt, it's like any product would. We'll do about, 4 updates a year on average. Small stuff like that can be a big result, and then obviously large enhancements like our new HR product, right? But subtle things like that, right? We're trying to take a degree of control, right? Even for just setting up your accounts. And again, these are big throughout the year to help with year end, to just keep things in check and on the right track. So like on an account that might be like a direct, labor account, right? Field labor. Well, we're going to say, yeah, that's going to require job costing right here, right? So, or it's a, material expense in AP. Well, yeah, when that account's selected for, direct expenses, it's going to say, well, put a job in. Like it won't let a user, choose, say, a material expense on an AP invoice and not pick a project because it's job related. There's overhead allocation features, which I'm not going to get into, that I guess you could, they do affect financials, quote, year end at some point. But there's a number of overhead allocation features for how we can take our overhead expense accounts and push those dollars to our actual jobs to better represent their actual cost, including the office expenses from behind the scenes, so to speak. There's a few different ways to do that in Foundation. We do year-end webinars. Our live support is obviously is vital to our clients, I would say. You can get help by pressing log a call. There's a lot of just search options, topics that you can type in help for. There's a major, big user guide. We do college courses, user conferences. So again, just building throughout the year, I think really does affect year end if we keep our processes obviously, and that's easy to say, right? But things in check as we go. But there's a number of things. And I wanted to mention as I kind of wrap up, I want to keep these typically to 30 minutes. We get a lot of referrals from CPA firms, obviously construction specific ones more so. And so we really do our best to help with that, right? If a CPA has questions and you want them on the call list, awesome, right? They're going to get help just like you would. A lot of our clients have their CPAs just log in directly, right? So that's not an issue. If you want your CPA to have access to the system, great. That way they can jump in, do adjustments, get support if they need it. We do free training and free webinars that they get CPE credits, as well as a CPA conference that we do annually that's free to CPA. That's at our office. That's I think a 2.5 day course maybe, where they earn CPE credits. It's on job cost accounting. But yeah, so as much as your CPA wants to be involved or you want them to be involved, awesome. They can log in, do things, get support. And we have a little console, as you see there, for those that are for the CPAs. If they're not familiar with our system, we're happy to educate them on the product as much as they need. but this is a spot where they can have quick access to typical reports and items that they may need, journal entries, WIP reports, cash flow. You can go to adjustments for like journal entries, a little area to kind of say, hey, here's where how you get support from us if they didn't know to just press log a call or help. So yeah, that number of things there. Now, anybody who registered for today, you'll get an email with a link to the webinar. I did want to kind of pop. So here's me. But yeah, this isn't meant to be obviously a one-on-one overview per se. So questions, if you guys, anybody listening that doesn't own one of the products that we have and you're interested in it, or even if you do and you have questions, obviously let us know. But obviously we can do one-on-one web demonstrations. They can be very brief if you're wanting just a quick overview to see if you're a fit. Typically they run from an hour and a half, just depending on the questions and how things go. Not stressful, not pushy, pretty efficient way to see if things line up, if somebody is considering, moving to a new construction specific package or payroll service or both. There's some contact information there. Thanks so much for joining me today, and we will send out a link later and appreciate it. Thank you.